All right, good afternoon, Nunwalek students. Welcome to our third review, which is a review of section 1.3 of environmental science. And this section is all about the atmosphere. Now, utilizing our journal guides, recall that our journal guides tell us the work that needs to be accomplished. And so for high school students, just a reminder that our journal guide, we are now in section 3, and we will review the outline, the objectives, the vocabulary definitions, the section review questions, and a figure for high school environmental science students. Now, middle school students, your journal guide for section 3, you will complete the objectives, write the objectives down, write your vocabulary definitions, and do the section review questions. Okay, so let's begin. So regarding the outline, and again, the outline is for high school students only because this shows up in your journal guide. So the outline of section 1.3 is as follows. Again, the Roman numeral number is the placeholder for the title of this section. Oh, joy. Now I got my dog barking. Girly, quiet. Sorry about that. And so then the categorization, the categories underneath the Roman numerals are the capitalized alphabet letters. And so the placeholders for these letters include objectives, vocabulary, and the subheadings that are found within the section reading, which are troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, and thermosphere, and then last, the section review. So if you're wondering again, Mrs. Roseberry, what do I need to do with this outline? You're to write it down. And this is the exact form that I want you to write it down. So that is the outline for 1.3. Next, within the journal guide are the objectives. And again, we're in section 3. So the objectives for 1.3, again, I strongly encourage you when you are doing your journaling, is that you're writing the title of the work that you are to be doing. So this is objectives 1.3. And so the objectives that are in this section are to diagram the layers of the atmosphere and to describe the characteristics of each layer. So these objectives tell you essentially what you will be learning within this section. So it is important to know what it is that you are to be learning. Again, going back to the journal guide, our vocabulary definitions. So let's take a look at 1.3 vocabulary. And so the vocabulary that is found or embedded within section 1.3 are as follows. And again, we are utilizing the bold-faced words that appear in the section. So we have troposphere. So troposphere is the layer of the atmosphere that touches the surface of the earth. Then we have stratosphere. This is the layer above the troposphere up to 50 kilometers above the earth. And the ozone, which is a form of the oxygen gas made up of 3 oxygen atoms per molecule. So there are additional vocabulary that I would like to introduce. However, at this point in time, it's best for me to stick with the bold-faced words as we're in a routine with identifying that our vocabulary words are the bold-faced words. Now going back to the journal guide. So we've completed the review of our vocabulary definitions. Now we're going to move down into the section review questions. So the section review of 1.3, again, within your journals, I expect that you would write the question and then the answers. And the reason being, as we get closer to the end of the chapters and we get closer to a final chapter review and a test for the end of the chapter, your journals will be instrumental in answering test questions and review questions. So I place a strong emphasis on students completing their journals for that reason. All right, so let's take a look at the section review questions for 1.3. Number 1, which layer of the atmosphere contains the ionosphere? And why does this layer have this name? So within your reading, you should have come to the conclusion that the thermosphere contains the ionosphere. And the reason that it is called the ionosphere is that there are ions in this layer. And so if you have taken biology and perhaps chemistry and physical chemistry, you would recognize the term ions as part of a molecule and as part of the atoms, and which are charged atoms, and those are called ions. So let's go on into section review question number 2. Why is the ozone layer important to living things? So again, in the reading, the ozone layer is important because it filters out damaging ultraviolet radiation. So we get a lot of ultraviolet radiation coming from the sun. And, the way that the Earth has been created and the way that it is, the ozone layer outside of the surface of the Earth protects us from the radiation that could be very damaging and very damaging to humans and to life on Earth in general. So, okay, let's take a look at question number 3. This is an apply question. So, people who live at sea level often have trouble breathing at the tops of mountains. And why do you think this is true? And within the reading, we should have come up with that the gases in the atmosphere become less dense and the oxygen concentration decreases at high altitudes. So again, we have our section review questions and the answers, and it's important for everyone to have the correct answers or similar answers. Last on our journal guides for high school students, we have the figure. So let's go ahead and review the figure. And for middle school students, they are not required to do the figure portion of the journals. So we are looking at figure 1.7, and this is straight off of the environmental science textbook. And so we were talking about the different layers of the atmosphere as part of the section review questions and as part of the objectives. So you can see here's the surface of the Earth, and right above and touching the surface of the Earth, This layer of the atmosphere is called the troposphere. Then the stratosphere is immediately above the troposphere. And you can see here, here's the heights, the elevation in kilometers of where each of these layers exist. And so then above the stratosphere, we have the mesosphere and then the thermosphere. And I believe we just answered that question in section review, in the section review question regarding which layer does the ozone layer reside in. And so let's take a look at the caption regarding this figure. No one can say exactly where the Earth's atmosphere ends. The gases simply get less dense as they get farther from the surface of Earth. So what this is saying is, and especially as we apply it to oxygen, the higher we go up into away from the surface of the Earth, the less oxygen there is. So the concentration of oxygen decreases as we climb higher away from the Earth. And that is the review for section 1.3. So please make sure to complete your assignments and to turn them in through Canvas. Make sure to take a picture of the work that you have completed and upload those so that I can have a copy of the work that you have been doing at home. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.